The tropical development chance in the western Atlantic continues to increase, and tropical waves moving through the Caribbean will bring impacts. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's great to see you on a Thursday. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, increasing tropical development likely in portions of the western Atlantic just east of the Florida coast. We'll talk about the impacts it's going to bring to that area, the southeast United States and the northern Bahamas in the coming days. Got a tropical wave moving through the Lesser Antilles right now. It's bringing some wind and rain, and that'll be sweeping across the area in the coming days. Let's get started. Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the leading law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. When a storm moves into your area, and it is storm season, to get any kind of damage, they can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, I want to hear from the Meteo Mundo weather community, what's been happening in your area, what the weather has been like. Surface analysis shows you some tightening winds right now over the northern Bahamas. Thunderstorms are really beginning to break out with that developing area right over the peninsula of Florida as we speak. Tropical wave moving through the central Caribbean. Another one is just beginning to impact the Lesser Antilles, and it's going to bring a lot of wind and some showers in that area in the coming days. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with what's happening right now, basically right over Florida in the northern Bahamas. We're going to break down how this is going to develop in the next few days and then go on from there. The numbers that you see are wind gusts in miles an hour. There's a lot of activity at this point in time. I'm going to switch over right now to the radar here, just take off the satellite data. Now, the area is now orange. We're up to a 60% chance of tropical development in the next 7 days, and that's probably going to be in the next 3 or 4. So now we're into the likely category. There's even a 30% chance in just the next 48 hours. The actual spin is located right over the Orlando, Florida area right now. And look at all of the thunderstorms developing late on this Thursday afternoon and evening across the peninsula of Florida, and that is building south and east over the northern Bahamas as well. Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, Bimini areas, you have some good passing thunderstorms here, ample amount of moisture. When I show you guys the visible satellite imagery out of this area for you right now, and again, put on the radar, you can clearly see the spin that is going to be moving east and offshore. And once it gets into the open waters of the far western Atlantic, we're going to have a much better opportunity to see a low-level center of circulation beginning to develop. But you see what's happening right now from the South Carolina coastline right down I-95 into South Florida and the Bahamas. And this is the appreciable impacts it's going to bring for the 4th of July weekend. Friends, it's going to be wet. It's going to be windy. It's going to be stormy. And that's regardless of any tropical development, okay? You are needing to be prepared here along the east coast of the U.S. if you're heading out for the 4th of July weekend for there to be weather impacts at the beaches and just an overall wet and stormy forecast as well. Obviously, boaters need to stay very weather aware in the coming days. But that center will continue to pull off towards the east, and then we're going to pick up a south wind here in portions of the Bahamas, and that's going to feed in even more moisture. Now, I can show you guys a couple of different things. I'm going to actually zoom out here to this very broad view, and then I'm going to switch the model over to the HER model. It's the high resolution rapid refresh. Now, unfortunately, that's not available in the Caribbean, but it is available here in the United States and in the Bahamas. And I want to bring this. Now, this is a model that updates hourly, and it only goes out 48 hours, but it's very high resolution. So here's how this is going to play out on the HER model between now and as we get into Saturday afternoon, right? That spin moves right into this area. Now, it will be a little bit drier on the western side of this, but it's still going to be wet and stormy along the east coast of the United States. And then as that circulation begins to tighten up, look at all of the moisture that's going to be coming back into a lot of the Bahamas. It's not just the northern or northwest Bahamas, but the central and even the southeast Bahamas, with the southerly flow feeding into that area of low pressure, could get extremely wet and stormy, all kinds of active weather across the Bahamas through the holiday weekend here, through the 4th of July weekend. For the east coast of Florida, Again, spiraling in rain bands, very rough sea conditions, beach conditions aren't going to be fantastic as well. Same situation up the Carolina and Georgia coastline as well, all the way from OBX back down to Charleston, Savannah, and the Jacksonville area. Again, you can clearly see on the HRRR model, we get a nice tightening developing here as we get into Saturday. That's what it looks like on reflectivity. I can show you what it looks like at the surface winds here. So these are going to be your surface winds right here, and these are going to be your sustained winds, and I'm going to loop that up. Let me take off this orange area so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. Take just 1 second for the model to fully load here, but you can clearly see a freshening of the winds, especially with those pinks and whites, and that center beginning to develop kind of off of the Georgia coastline, a little bit to the north and to the east of Jacksonville. So this is where the HRRR model has this beginning to develop. And again, this takes you into Saturday afternoon. It's as far as the model goes. And of course, I can also query these winds. So let me bring this back to the end time frame here. And again, sustained winds near the center of circulation would support a tropical storm. Surface-based winds, maybe not as strong south, but on that northern and northwest quadrant, you get winds of right around 40, 41 miles an hour sustained, and then you would have tropical storm Chantal. Now, there looks to be a very high chance that we're going to get a tropical depression, and then we'll have to wait and see how it plays out from there. Coming up in a little bit, we'll take a look at the models in the extended range, because after this development is likely Saturday into Sunday, a big question becomes, where does the system go from there? Does it move back inland over Georgia and the Carolinas, or does it stay off the United States East Coast and head a little bit closer to Bermuda in the coming days? I can also show you guys here real quickly, I can bring on the actual wind field here at the low level. So now you're going to see the arrows associated with this. And I wanted to bring this on because my friends in the Bahamas, when you see this come on, your winds are going to be basically out of the due south. And it's going to be pulling in a lot of moisture. And you can see clusters of showers and storms with that wind energy coming out of southeast Florida and kicking over places like Grand Bahama and the Abacos and Eleuthera and Nassau, New Providence and the Andros area, even back down towards Cat Island and Exuma as well. But southerly winds will be freshening up. It means boating conditions will be going downhill. And again, on this HRRR model, you can clearly see a big spin in a low level center that does develop by Saturday afternoon and gets even a little bit stronger. Back over to the reflectivity for you guys one more time. So let me bring back over the reflectivity. I'll take off the wind vectors because again, it's just a little bit easier to see. But again, if you do have plans here in the southeast United States, especially along the East Coast, please make sure that you stay weather aware. I'll keep you guys updated as we go through the weekend, but it's likely we're going to get a tropical depression potentially late tomorrow on the 4th of July or sometime on Saturday. There is a hurricane reconnaissance aircraft that is scheduled to investigate this area tomorrow as long as it comes offshore and it's still showing a center of circulation. Now, the European model basically has an 80 to a 90% chance of a tropical development area by early Sunday morning in the area that the HRRR model also has this developing. So now we're into the very high likelihood of, again, at least getting a tropical depression, if not a tropical storm, and Chantal is going to be the next name. Now, maybe if you haven't tuned into Meteo Mundo before, first of all, I appreciate you guys clicking that subscribe button. I'll keep you updated on that system, but we also have live cameras. This is a live look to Central Eleuthera, Governor's Harbor there in the Bahamas. It looks relatively tranquil right now, but again, my friends in Central Eleuthera and areas to the north, get ready for a very wet, stormy weekend ahead. Boaters need to be very weather aware if you want to be out and about, because again, I think we're going to get some strong winds kicking up, waves of heavy rain, and can't even rule out some water spouts as well. You can see the low-level clouds here in Long Island. Nice shower just off the coastline. This camera is looking back to the west from the White House area of Long Island, and that's, again, going to be an even more prolific shot here across the central and the northern Bahamas in the coming days. So I'll keep you updated with all of that, my friends. You know I will. Let's get back out to the broad perspective here. I'm going to take this back out here because I want to talk about what else is happening across our area for today. And again, if you have any specific questions about what I just talked about, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Showers and storms developing over Cuba at the hour from Havana to Cienfuegos all the way towards Santiago de Cuba. We're going to get some passing showers here, even in the far southern of the central sides of the Bahamas into the southeast Bahamas. So from, again, places like Long Island and Exuma towards the Acklins and Mayaguana and Inagua, the opportunity for a shower storm. Same situation over Turks and Caicos, kind of passing showers for right now. Not a lot of rain for my friends in Jamaica at the hour here. So it's more about what the temperatures are like at this point in time. Getting hot up there in Montego Bay, even around 90 degrees. Here's the visible satellite imagery for us here. And again, you know, we've had some passing clouds, but a fair amount of Sahara dust, kind of hazy sunshine across that region. Getting pretty hot over the Cayman Islands as well, from Little Cayman and Cayman Brac on over towards Grand Cayman at the hour. Not a lot in the way of any opportunity for any real shower activity in this spot, at least at the present time. We'll swing back off towards the east, trying to get a few thunderstorms to develop over portions of the Dominican Republic at the hour from the Samana Peninsula just to the north of Santo Domingo. Notice again that these mid-level clouds are actually pushing off towards the west. Your low-level winds are still going to mainly be out of the east right now. So I'll show you that over the Punta Cana area. You notice that they have still a southeast wind. So we do have an interaction of winds, low-level winds out of the east, mid-level winds out of the west. It is creating some convergence there, and we're getting some showers and thunderstorms to develop. They're beginning to go a little bit more gangbusters right now over portions of Puerto Rico. This is what the visible satellite imagery looks like at this point in time. Again, these showers and storms are just blowing up at the hour. Let me bring back on this lightning data, and you can clearly see the lightning strikes that developed in interior portions of Puerto Rico, just south of Arecibo. We've had a couple of thunderstorms near the Aguadilla area. That's why their temperature has dropped all the way back down to 75 degrees. What does it look like wind-wise in these areas? Well, there's been a heck of a lot of wind lately, and we're still seeing that as well. 25-mile plus breeze there in the Ponce area. Scattered passing showers for a few areas of the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. Again, the opportunity is there. Not going to be a robust opportunity. Again, we're still going to be fighting some Saharan dust in the coming days. There's still a bit of haze in the sky right now, but late tomorrow, the next big plume of Saharan dust gets back into this area here, and the opportunity to again see some pretty hazy conditions and our air quality get back down to at least the moderate category. So this is the area, especially Dominica, Martinique to the south, where we are starting to see the next tropical wave have some impacts. So go back over to the infrared satellite imagery for you here, and you can really start to see a little bit of a south wind coming in, beginning to catch up to some of that leading axis of the tropical wave, and showers and storms are breaking out right now from the Barbados area, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, including places like Carriacou and Bequia, Grenada. Trinidad and Tobago have had a couple of passing showers, but it is a little bit more concentrated right now over the Grenadines, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Barbados. You know, we have our live cameras here. Back out to our live camera in Corinth, St. Lucia on the west side of the island. You can see some of those low overhanging clouds, passing showers out there, the opportunity for a few rumbles of thunder, and some breezy conditions for my friends in St. Lucia the remainder of this late Thursday afternoon and into the evening hours. Barbados could also see some locally heavy rain. Look, it's not going to be widespread, but 2 to 3 inches or 50 to 75 millimeters out of this is not out of the question. Seas are beginning to build up as well, around 2 to 3 feet or 6 to 9 meters in a couple of spots. Nueva Esparta could see a couple of passing showers in that area. The ABC Islands here still fairly quiet as far as, you know, getting any rain. We've had some gusty winds here today. I haven't had a wind gust report out of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao so far on this Thursday, but you can just see again from the live picture from Oranjestad, Aruba, there's still a fresh amount of breeze. I feel like they've been flying that yellow flag forever here. And you can see the ripples there on the nearshore waters. Again, a little bit of haze in the sky right now, but fair weather clouds at Oranjestad and a beautiful late Thursday there. Again, appreciate you guys giving me the thumbs up for these live cameras. One of the exclusive we have for you here at Meteo Mundo. Showers and storms are breaking out over Panama and Costa Rica. These are going to be lifting up to the north, at least to the southern sides of Nicaragua. Expecting a few showers to develop over portions of Honduras, Guatemala, and coastal Belize, including the Bay Islands, Roatan, Utila, and Guanaja. Not expecting a lot of activity for today. The air's a little bit drier here, and winds were warming back up. Temperatures have been well into the 90s here. You can see temperatures temperatures across Quintana Roo are back into the mid and upper 90s. Merida and the Campeche areas, 95 to 97 degrees respectively. So now we're going to get into the broad forecast, friends, and I appreciate you guys taking a quick second and liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Again, you want these updates across the tropics, the Caribbean, the Bahamas, I got you covered. Appreciate those who have found ways to support the channel, including our memberships. 2 tiers. You want to do a little simple thank you, 99 cents a month to become a supporter. It gives you access to custom badges and emojis during our live streams. You want to kick it up a notch. Our new tier is called Team MM. I do exclusive member shorts. I did one before this video with kind of my thoughts leading into the video, what I'm keeping a close eye on. And for $2.99 a month, you do get access to those exclusive shorts. I do appreciate all of our members here at Meteo Mundo. Once again, that Sahara dust is going to be a big factor in the Eastern Caribbean over the weekend, especially starting, late tomorrow, but into Saturday and Sunday. It's a big plume of dust coming in for places like Antigua and Barbuda and Anguilla over the British and U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and then really sweeping off towards the west, the Dominican Republic and Haiti, right across Jamaica. My friends in Jamaica, early next week, another concentration of dust is heading your way, and ultimately this will make a run back into Central America, so the Bahamas will be spared out of this next layer of Sahara dust. So let's get into the broader forecast here. I'm going to go back out to this broad perspective, and then we're going to switch over to this right here. Again, what I'm going to do right now is pick up the GFS model from where we had the HRRR model, go a little bit longer out into time as to how this might play out with the GFS model, and then look at the European model as well. So I'm just setting that up behind the scenes here real quick. Let's take this out to the 10th. Sounds like a good time. Now again, orange area, 60% chance of development. You saw where the HRRR model developed this same area that the European model was trying to also pick up some development. I'm going to take the development area off so it's just a little bit easier to see. Now, believe it or not, the GFS model has been weaker overall in the potential development than the HRRR model and the European model. And you can see it keeps it as a fairly sloppy system over the weekend, but still major impacts to wanting to be outdoors along the United States East Coast from OBX all the way back down towards Miami, with the excessive rainfall, just the widespread showers and storms, and kicking up the winds, which means the surf and the sea conditions are going to be going higher along area beaches and coastal waters as well. Now, the GFS model ultimately never brings this back on shore, actually kind of skirts it across the Carolina coastline and pulls it back off towards the east as a very sloppy system. But early to mid next week with the GFS model, we'd have to watch out for Bermuda for some impacts. This would probably just be disorganized showers and storms rather than anything too wrapped up here on the GFS model, but you get the idea that it stays offshore, which when I show you the European model is going to be a vastly different solution. And one thing, because we don't have a center of circulation as of yet, the models are still in fairly good disagreement. They have a lot of disagreement as to ultimately what's going to be happening with this, whether it stays a tropical depression, whether it becomes Tropical Storm Chantal, whether it moves back in over the southeast United States, or whether it stays off the Gulf Stream waters and eventually heads towards Bermuda. There's not a lot of consensus so far. So this is the same product you saw on the HRRR model, but the GFS model instead. Now you notice, again, same area here early on in this model. And again, I'm letting it loop up through the 10th here. Same area where it tries to spin it up, but it's not as prominent on the GFS, but still a heck of a lot of wind along the coastline of the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. And then ultimately this begins to maybe get a little bit stronger towards the OBX area of North Carolina and then pulling back offshore. So again, wrapping up right about there off the South Carolina coastline, kind of moving up the coast, and then eventually pulling off to the east. A little bit stronger winds, but it's all very elongated along that trough rather than a true dominant low-level center of circulation. Would still get a depression out of this, but the GFS model is just simply not as strong overall for the most part here. Let me go back over to the extended view here, and I'm going to take it back down Let's see, I think we can do this first. Let me just show you the European model real quickly, and then we'll move on from there. So the European model is a completely different solution than the GFS. It actually develops it where we picked up the HER model, but then pushes it right back inland over South Carolina. But if you look over my shoulder, guess what happens by Wednesday? It does that old curlicue spin where basically it goes through the Carolinas, comes back off the coastline, and still tries to head towards Bermuda. Ultimately, and actually redevelops on Wednesday morning. So you get yourself a tropical storm on the European ensemble products here with a pressure probably just below 1,000 millibars right into South Carolina, skirting the Carolinas and then back offshore. So this would be a heavy rain producer for the Carolinas as well. Now, got to watch out for the increased wave heights as well. There's going to be some significant waves coming in. Anywhere that you see green, that's going to be some 8 to 10 foot wave heights in the area. So you got to monitor that situation, if you're in those spots, no doubt about it. Going up the coastline and then basically right in the Gulf Stream. If you look back down for my friends in the Bahamas, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is ultimately the winds start to turn more out of the south, and especially in the exposed waters of the Atlantic. If this begins to wrap up, we'll actually push back in a little bit of an easterly wind there, and that could lead to some long period swell. So I would be concerned about the eastern side of the Bahamas for us here, even as this begins to pull away. Now, for my friends in the Caribbean, these tropical waves and these fresh winds are going nowhere either, right? Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, southern sides of Jamaica have all had winds over 30 miles an hour, it seems like, for the last several days, if not for weeks at time, especially in the ABC Islands. And there's a big blow up of wind again coming through the central and the western sides of the Caribbean. When that dust moves in, winds should relax a little bit for the Western Antilles in the short term, but then again come back up. Anywhere that you guys see green, those are areas of concern, as wave heights are now hitting 8 to 9 feet, or at least 2 to 3 meters in a lot of spots. So back over to the large perspective here, go back into the forecast. Let's see, we'll take it out the next couple of days, and then we'll break down what I expect rain chance wise for the rest of our area. We'll start off in the Lesser Antilles. Look, again, your best opportunity for rain is going to be in the Windward Islands today, overnight, and through early on Friday. Then everyone starts to see the Sahara dust concentration, and now we get into the limited shallow tropical moisture with fast moving showers, that mid-level drier air with the Saharan air layer, dropping down your visibility a bit, making the haze out there, dropping down the air quality to the moderate category. But again, a relatively dry weekend ahead. That being said, if you want to be outside, look, just like today in Puerto Rico where they had heat advisories, the heat is going to be coming back up for Barbados and St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda. Again, fast moving showers here in the next 3 days, but nothing that will be very appreciably strong. And the biggest impact will actually be the Sahara dust. Same situation for the U.S. and British Virgin Islands as well. Anegada, Virgin Gorda, Yost Van Dyke, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Puerto Rico itself, the eastern sides of the Dominican Republic, a few passing showers. You get inland in the DR, and it's a couple of showers if we're lucky. Same situation over Haiti and the Port-au-Prince and Lacaille area as well. Scattered showers will be a little bit more prolific over Cuba the next couple of days. Not expecting a lot of rain for the Cayman Islands and Jamaica. Again, it's more about the heat in the afternoon hours there. For my friends in Quintana Roo, we're mainly on the drier side. A few showers could spin in towards Cancun and Cozumel and Tulum. Slightly better chance for rain in Belize City and portions of Guatemala, Honduras. Going to be better rain and heavier rain chances for Nicaragua on over towards Costa Rica and Panama. Now, I do want to highlight a couple of things. First of all, this isn't even Flossie, all right? Flossie is this one right here. If I go back over to my tropical and I bring on Flossie, there's Flossie for you right there. It's a tropical storm weakening, right? That's the 6th named storm. The 7th named storm is already a red area. It'll be an invest by tomorrow and likely a named storm by early on Saturday. And the GFS model has this as an extremely strong system. Pretty unbelievable stuff. Now again, back over to the longer perspective here on the Bahamas. Again, best chance for heavier rain will certainly be northern or northwest Bahamas, but central and southeast and Turks and Caicos will get back into that southerly flow. The HER model is more widespread with the rain and storms compared to the GFS, and as long as this begins to wrap up, I believe the HER model and the better rain chances in the Bahamas, because that's going to be a due south wind feeding into all this rich tropical moisture. Friends, I appreciate you guys. You know I've got you updated not only here, but across our social media platforms. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video to help tell the weather story in your area? It's myMediaMundo@gmail.com. As always, you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. And while you're down there, I really do appreciate you taking a quick second and liking and subscribing. And please remember that Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the leading law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They cover the entire state of Florida. So if you get damage from this storm or any other storm during hurricane season, they can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. They offer free consultations and policy reviews. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Friends, have a great rest of your day. You know I've got you updated here daily with your latest forecasts and the latest in the tropics right here at Meteo Mundo.